Live from Dark Easy Studios in Eddyville, Kentucky, it's time for another episode of the Evolution of Survivor Strategy. Tonight, we're breaking down Season 10 of Survivor Palau. Yeah, what a season. We had the first conquering, and the only conquering. We had one of the most dominant physical games we've ever seen from Tom Westman, and also have some great strategy and some rough deals going on with Ned, and let's talk about it. Your host, Dark Easy. Hello, Easy Nation. Welcome to another episode of Dark Easy's Evolution Survivor Strategy. This is the 10th chapter of the Evolution Survivor Strategy. You know, it's been a fun podcast to do for these last 9 episodes, and I've been rewatching Survivor, to be honest with you. Because Survivor, it's my favorite reality show. And, you know, like I said, when I started this podcast, the whole idea of it was to go back, rewatch the show, refine the love of Survivor due to the fact that we're not getting a season this fall, due to the fact of COVID-19. They weren't able to do a season. So I'm looking forward. I've been watching these seasons, and it's been good watching all these old school seasons of Survivor, because this is really the last true old school season, I believe, because season 11, they introduced the hidden immunity idol. I'll get to that when I get to the next chapter. But, you know, I'm looking forward to talking about this episode of the Evolution of Survivor Strategy. So let's get right into it. So this was the first season. This has the most cast members of all time. And it had 20 cast members in Survivor Palau. 20 cast members. It was kind of crazy, you know. But, you know, it doesn't stay 20 for long, because it really gets down to 18. You know, this is the first twist, one of those twists that was just you're kind of like, I just don't really like that twist. But basically, all 20 members of the island all end up on the same beach. And so they're not divided up. And basically, Probst comes to them in day 2, basically says they're going to be doing a schoolyard pig. At the beginning, they basically, 2 people get immunity, Ian and Jolanda. And basically what happens in the episode is that they basically, each person has to pick a member of the tribe. There's going to be 2 people left. Whoever are not chosen last are voted off the island. And for me personally, I just thought that was kind of crappy, really, if you really want to get down to it, because that's kind of a crappy way to throw someone out. I understand they were playing with bigger casts at the time. And, you know, 20 is the most members that you could really, truly do in a Survivor season without adding more days. But, you know, it was, you know, so the 2 people, like, I forget the characters' names of Jonathan and Wanda, I think are the ones get basically not picked, so they're the first 2 voted out. So the season really, you know, you had the 2 tribes of Karor and Yulong. And, you know, I kind of like this season for the tribal council music, because, you know, tribal council music has pretty much been the same as throughout the entire run of Survivor so far. And this season we introduced, like, I liked how it was kind of like you had the little drumming noises when they go to the voting. That was one of the things I was noticing in this this season of Survivor. So that was kind of a fresh new thing. I just, you know, never really noticed in this. And this episode of Survivor the bus had the military kind of vibe to it, because, you know, there's the Palau or Micronesia, whatever island you really want to call it. This is really what we call Palau. It's the remnants of World War II, of Japanese and United States Air Force, or planes and ships at the bottom of the ocean. So it kind of had that little military vibe, but you can kind of tell because they have like the sergeant stripes on the buffs. So the tribes get divided into 2 tribes, Yulong and Karor, and this is one of the most dominant performances by a tribe you ever see in the history of Survivor, because in modern day Survivor we would have swapped. The tribe loses the first 4 immunity challenges, that they would do a tribe mix up right then and there. But we didn't see that. We saw that in Marquesas. So I'm curious. I would be curious to ask Probst, if I ever got to talk to the guy, would be to why didn't they do a tribe mix up after because, you know, they did that in Marquesas. But they didn't do that in this season. So maybe they're just like, well, let's see what happens. Maybe the tribe will, because Yulong was the more physically dominant tribe. And, you know, you have people like Ibrahim and Stephanie and Bobby John. And they just had some really strong people. They were younger. They were stronger. They won. It's not like the Yulong tribe was completely hopeless. because they won a bunch of challenges, and they won some of those early challenges in demanding factor. Like that first reward challenge, they smoked Core, and they just could not get their act together. It's like when they heard immunity, it's like telling Alex Rodriguez, hey, there's a playoff game, just does nothing. And that's basically how Yulong was. The Yulong tribe gets completely wiped out. And you would think watching a tribe go week to week to week and losing challenge after challenge would be just awful to watch, but it was a fun season to watch through the halfway point. And maybe it has to do with some great characters of Stephanie and Bobby John and the way they were playing the game. And the game had a lot of the first half of the season had a lot of ties. And, I just enjoyed watching the season go up to the final 10. So at the final 10, they lose that final challenge, and they have a fire-making challenge to see who goes on. Stephanie wins, gets to go to the merge, gets to go to Karor. Basically, they introduced this thing called the Conquered. You did not lose an immunity challenge. Yulong is no more. That tribe has been conquered. And so Stephanie becomes a member of Karor, which is the first season and only season there was not a merge, because Yulong was conquered. So we get to the second portion of the game, the merge part of the game. Even though it wasn't a merge, we get to the individual part again. I guess that's a better way to put it. And Stephanie, at day 2, she built that alliance with Ian, Tom, Katie, and herself. And it was kind of interesting. You start the game off with all 20 people on the same island, and it's kind of interesting because you have these personal relationships with these people, and so you kind of build those little early bonds at the beginning of the game and see if they even hold true. It turns out they didn't really hold true, but really, one of the ways I felt Core was able to dominate this game was because of Tom. Tom's the way he is strong physically and how he led the Core tribe. And Bobby John said in one of the episodes where he said we were just out muscled by Tom. Tom completely showed me up, and like that little rivalry between Bobby John and Tom was really fun to watch. And as Tom always was one step ahead of him, it's basically the Sasuke to Bobby John's Naruto, or the Goku to Vegeta. He just could not keep up with that person, and it was fun to watch. So we get to the merge part of the show. Stephanie joins Karor, and Kobe kind of gives Stephanie all this information, and Stephanie's like, yeah, okay, I kind of buy it. She's trying to build relations, and Kobe gets voted out because he talked too much, and they decided to get rid of him because he was a huge threat. And, Kobe was an interesting character to watch because, he's like a guy, he said, I didn't finish high school because I was bullied. Very interesting character. I'm really surprised we have not seen Kobe come back for another season. Maybe he will one day, maybe he won't. Who knows? I'm still waiting on one of those players that I'll be talking about pretty soon in a couple episodes. So we get to the final 7. We get to the final 6. At final 7, Stephanie gets voted out, and she tried to start the girls' thing with Katie, and it just did not work out. So we get to the final 6, and one of the things and also at final 7, I want to talk a little bit about Tom's gameplay, because Tom was very good. He won 5 immunity challenges, a very dominant person. But one of the things that's probably very underrated is his personal skills, how he was able to, when Janu was having her really heartbreak during the pre-merge of the game, was able to talk to her, be a friend to her, and you see that as he's doing pretty good there. But then that relationship he builds with Carolyn, or basically it's his relationship with her that really avoids a female thing happening at final 7. So it's kind of interesting to see that, because if Tom did not have that relationship with her, then Karen would probably join up with the females. Tom probably gets voted out, and then probably someone like a Jen or Katie or even Greg wins the game. So, and at final 6, they play the personality game, the one where you chop, you answer questions, you chop ropes, and whoever wins, and it kind of shows the pecking order of the tribe. And it's also really dangerous to leave your tribe for a reward challenge. And, I'll talk about it again in a minute, but but Ian realizes he's at the bottom of the order. Basically, final 5, Greg, Jen, and Katie are probably going to vote out Tom or vote out myself. So we got to do this one thing. We get with Carolyn, we vote out Greg, and we draw rocks. And basically, it forces Katie. It was like, well, I want to draw a rock to see if I'm going to stay in this game or not. So she has to turn her back on the Greg and Jen lines, which she probably has a better shot of beating in the finals. Probably not, because she probably would not be able to outlast, because she's probably one of the worst physical Survivor players we've ever seen. And so, we get to the final 5. Carolyn, she does her best to try to stay in the game, and just doesn't work out. She lets it all out in the open and it paints Ian as a bad guy. And in final 4, Tom wins that final immunity, or final 4 immunity, and so that secures Tom to final 3. But Ian was planning on getting rid of Tom because he knew he couldn't beat Tom when it came to the final 3 or final 2. And Ian freaking lets it slip. Tom's like, oh yeah, it was an easy decision. He's like, man, I'm glad you made that decision, because it'd been a hard one for me. And it just kind of, Ian kind of goofed. He shouldn't have said that. And so we get to see the evolution of the tiebreaker, and we see the final 4. If 2 votes go to tie, it goes to a fire making challenge. If it's not final 4, it's you draw rocks. And so at final 4, they have to do a fire making challenge, and who wins the fire making challenge is Ian. Ian wins pretty easily. The only difference between fire making challenge at this point and what it is in the future is, in the future, it's done with flint and steel. They're using matches. They did the matches, and this one's a little harder than it was in the Bobby John Stephanie challenge, because I do think, if I'm going back, but I felt like if it was Flint, I think Bobby John probably would have stayed in the game longer than Stephanie, but you never know. So Tom tries to vote Ian out, because he's like, well, if he wasn't going to honor his word, I'm not going to honor my word, and tries to vote out Ian. Jen gets voted out, and then we get to the final 3, the longest challenge of all time, I believe. The challenge goes 11 hours, 55 minutes. It's almost half a day. Tom votes out Ian after Ian says he wants to regain his honor, and takes Katie to the final 2. Really smart move, really, on Tom's part, regardless of what Ian wanted. And Tom goes to the finals, wins pretty easily against Katie, because everyone's voting for Tom, because Tom played the more physical game. He won 5 challenges. Even Katie says, I had no shot of winning. There was no chance of me winning. The only way I could have won is taking out Tom, and I just couldn't get him out. And yeah, it was such an enjoyable season. And Tom played a dominant game. Making those moves, taking out Greg before they get to 5 was a brilliant move. It really was. And the partnership between Tom and Ian was one of the great Survivor partnerships you ever seen. But also, him winning all the challenges and helping lead Roar through the first part of the game was really fun to watch. And Survivor Palau is a very good season. Might be very underrated, but I really enjoy Survivor Palau. So, yeah, and also this, I want to pay tribute to Jen, who did pass away years ago. I believe she died of cancer, and but yeah, I was thinking of that watching this season. I was like, oh, she's not with us anymore. That's sad. So, guys, that ends this episode of the Evolution Survivor Strategy. Very good season of Survivor. The title of it is The Conquered and the Dominace of Tom Westman, because there's nothing else I could really name it. I could maybe throw in a fire-making challenge. I might throw that in. That might be something. So, alright guys, that ends this episode. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you check out the main Darth Easy YouTube channel. I'm posting all my top 100 movies as every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to be posting my Monday one when I actually go to work because it slows my internet down too much while I'm here. So I want to be able to watch TV or do games. But I'll be posting my latest of the top 100 on Monday once it fully uploads, and hopefully it'll be out on Monday. Also, guys, make sure you check out this YouTube channel, Darth Easy Show. I have all kinds of podcasts you can listen to. Right now, I'm really just focusing on the Survivor podcast, but we'll see what goes on. And also the monthly episodes of the top 10. This month, I did the top 10 Disney live-action movies, so check that out now. All right, guys, until next time, all too easy.